This episode, I'm gonna go over and try to get a little bit more work done on this I Beam Chevy project. So right now, kind of showed a little bit in the last video I posted on the Truggy, and showed where exactly where this is at right now. So just getting started to kind of work on this thing, and yeah, gonna start working on the radius arms. Radius arms, I've gotten to a point where I made a well, I haven't finished making it, but started a cross member and tabs, and right now am going to be working on positioning these here, getting tabs and made off the backside, and getting the wheelbase set and making these actual swing and cycle with yeah, radius arms. So these are the tube inner structures. I'm going to then be designing plate and burning out on the plasma and welding those all up so that they are all boxed just like that, like the beams are. And yeah, we'll have some radius arms, some beams, everything. Well, there's a little Pete. The GoPro battery died pretty quick when I was cutting all this stuff out, so I didn't get a lot of all this stuff, but this is the radius arms for the Chevy beam truck build, and this is what they look like coming just off the table. So I just finished cutting the last part out. I just pulled them all out. Got some slag on them. Got to go clean them all up. They're all soaked with coolant. I'll take a sander to them, sand them all up, clean them all up, and then I'm going to be able to start messing with the radius arms and getting these all tacked up on the welding table and getting them all welded up before I can get them onto the truck. So we'll get all these cleaned up and we'll get them tacked up. I was just about to start grabbing these plates here and getting these ones tied together to make up this other radius arm. I figured I'd get a little video and kind of show you these destructed before I put one together. I've been working on This one so far, starting to weld a couple little areas. To not warp anything, I weld things really slowly. So just doing small little sections of weld on both sides and then waiting. And then I let the thing cool down. So that's the overlay for that one that's on the bench. And as that one's cooling, I'm gonna start piecing this one together. So we got a tube inner structure. This is a machined, machined out piece of steel for a 1-inch bolt, which we have up here. So these big, huge bolts. That's where it'll actually attach to the back side of the beam, is through that. So those are welded, and then there's a 1.25 inch Heim bung down there that's welded. So this is one piece, and then we've got two side pieces. These right here, which have the slots in them for weld. That's to be able to weld to the tube here. This little guy, which is a little bent piece, this actually goes in there in between the two plates, and then this gets welded all the way on the inside there. That's to help brace this up a little bit. And then there's a top and a bottom plate, and then the overlay. So that's what makes up the radius arm and kind of the design and everything I got going on there. So you already saw me weld all the one up, which, like I said, is that one there, or we'll at least get it all tacked up to that point. And I'm gonna now do the same thing with this one. So same thing over again, but yeah, just figured maybe I'd give you kind of a little look. Those are all the plates. They're all sanded, cleaned up, prepped and ready for weld now. So got rid of all the mill scale, the slag, the little bit of surface rust that's on the plate, stuff like that. And we'll now make that whole pile there, turn it into another one of these. This is kind of the first look at beams and radius arms on the Chevy Silverado build we got in here in the shop. So they're not really fully on there yet. You can already see we got some no tabs right here, so those aren't actually bolted, but it's the first time that I've ever had the radius arms and the beams and everything kind of on the truck, and at least kind of in position where it's going to be. So figured I'd kind of show you a little bit what I got going on now that I got them in here, and kind of what the plan of action is next, and kind of what we're working on. So radius arms all welded up. That's obviously what this video is all about. Got those all made up, and those are bolted in those tabs there for the mounting. I've already kind of went over this. This is going to be, you know, this factory cross member is going to get taken out and get fully boxed in and welded up once I've gotten all this geometry and everything proved out where we want it to be. Right now, this is what I would call, I guess I would call it the mock-up stage. All of the tabs are not permanent yet. The only things that are permanent are things like the spindle, the beams, the radius arms, things like that. And as of now, even this beam pivot right here is probably going to get changed. These are just some mock-up tabs I cut. I thought they were going to be right where I needed them to be, and I ended up making this this gusset piece. But more than likely, these are even these tabs are going to get cut back off and moved. So what I like to do is kind of get all the pieces in here and made, and that's where I've gotten now. And then I kind of use a couple different things to work for setting like wheelbase and positioning. I get a lot of questions a lot of the times when I'm working on this beam stuff, is essentially that, like, how do you get these things set up? When you have beams, a radius arm, and a frame rail, like, where do you start? And so I figured I'd make a little bit of a video. I figured the next video I'm going to cover it a lot more, because that's now the stuff I'm going to be working on. But kind of give you a little bit of foreshadowing, I guess, of what I look at and what I'm kind of doing with just setting all this stuff into place to then just rip it all right back off. So what we got going on is everything's just sitting on jack stands. The radius arms, that point has been determined and figured out. That's in the center. So that point, the only thing back here that might change yet is the actual design of the tabs themselves and the length or drop of like where that hole is located. Maybe may raise that up or down. And the reasoning being, it's not going to be until I actually get cycling these things to know 100% for sure. But that's kind of what I'm meaning when I'm saying mock-up tabs, is a lot of this stuff is just kind of eyeballed. So like these, I just took a tape measure. I figured out kind of the center line of my wheel well. So that's what you see, that CL there. And then I offset this one. And I kind of just did this all eyeballing, like very loosely, you know, just trying to be within like a ½ inch of my measurement, and just to get me in the ballpark of hanging that beam. If you notice, and then I did the same on the other side. I found center line, and then I offset the other way, and I'm just trying it out. That bolt right there is actually giving me a problem. I got to cut that bolt down because that beam, it's not letting my beam go forward enough. So just things like that. You start figuring out little things back and forth, and try to get, you know, the wheel. That's actually going to be something I'm working on next, is getting this hub all put together and putting on here so I can put the wheels on here, the wheels and tires. The other side's already got the hub all together, but this side needs the hub put on yet, and then I can actually put the wheel in here, and that helps you with centering it in the wheel well, stuff like that. So something I'm looking at. The other thing is, let's see, we got those are kind of fixed. So these might move, which means obviously that other side, the other beam pivot, that's kind of just floating in space. And the other thing to figure out then is obviously this, the tab, the spacing on what do I need to make these. So that's kind of why everything's just mock up right now, is it's kind of just part of the thing is just getting the stuff in here. So I'm kind of I'm working more off the driver's side than that side, but working on, this is pretty close to where I want everything. And if you start looking back, you know, when this pivots, you know, this radius arm and beam actually goes up and around this beam pivot. So, you know, when this wheel is traveling up and bump, you know, this has to have clearance to come up and over that. There's going to be a shock in here as well, shock here. There's steering to go all in here yet. So a lot of the things to consider when you're laying these things out and why. And when I was talking about the dimension on that might change, you see here the frame, you know, we have quite a bit of clearance back here. And I like the rise on these 99 to 06 Chevy frames, have a pretty good rise in here. My hope is that we don't have to do any cutting into here. I made the design with the radius arms, hoping that we have all the up travel we want and need. And then, yeah, have no issues back here. But something that, to avoid like cutting, we could potentially play with dropping that location down if we need to. There is like a certain angle I'm going for on my radius arms, so have a lot of specific things, and I think we'll get into a lot more of those types of specifics in another build. This is just to kind of show you the radius arms, and they're done. They look good. I welded on these things for about 6 days. 2 bottles of argon gas. So yeah, a lot of welding. There's a lot of welding in this whole kit. Between the 2 radius arms and the beams, these are all fully welded up. There's a lot of TIG welding in there. So, yeah, I'm happy with how they turned out, and I'm happy kind of where everything's shaping up and how it's progressing. So this is, I think, where we're going to kind of call this video. Just kind of wanted to get an idea of, yeah, the beams all laying under here and what it looks like. And like I said, just kind of that next stage. The next stage is getting these tabs cut out, getting wheelbase set up, making those permanent, making these beam pivots permanent. And then once we make all that stuff permanent and get the thing cycling exactly how I want it to cycle, then we will be kind of on to steering, shock mounting. Those are the first things that come to mind as far as moving on to what's next after I kind of get through actually finalizing all of this stuff. And yeah, having it all in there. So anyways, thanks for watching the channel. We're getting going further on this project. Next coming up is going to be the Truggy project, getting ready to put that thing back together. So that should be back together here soon and getting ready to roll out of here. And then we'll, more videos on the Chevy project after that. So thanks for watching my channel. Catch you next time. Peace.